Hey, what's happening? Andrew Pollock here, author of the Mortgage Marketing Manifesto, CEO at leadpops.com. So we're here to see what the big dogs are doing, because I referenced a couple times so far in the book that obviously driving traffic and getting people to your website, I mean, that's a key component to marketing, but without the right conversion tools and without understanding that lead conversion is like crucial, it's absolutely 100% like the foundation of everything that you're doing to market, actually converting people into leads and understanding how to do it is going to be imperative. So instead of just trying to explain it really in the book and writing a lot about it, I wanted to couple that with an actual presentation here in this video to show you in real life what these big companies in the mortgage space are doing to capture leads. Because once you understand it and you can kind of see how they're going about it, it makes a lot more sense. You can understand how you can kind of mimic these same strategies and these same ideas in your own marketing. And it's not even that difficult. It's just seeing how they're doing it and then understanding how you can layer it into what you're doing. And you don't need $1 million marketing budget. You don't need to have tens of thousands of people coming to your website a day to be successful. You just, in your own little ecosystem, in your own marketing world, you need to understand how to layer in the right kinds of lead capture. And then all of a sudden, everything you're doing will work that much better. Because as you can imagine, having people come to your website, to your landing page, opening up your emails, getting direct mailers from you, a realtor mentioning you in conversation, and that potential client going online to look you up as they typically will do. If they arrive on a site or a page that you have and it's just a bunch of stuff to read in a 1003 application, you're not going to get anything out of it, right? We've got to entice them to take that next step and make it very easy for them to provide information and understand that there's actually a lot of psychology that goes into it. It's not just a matter of, my phone number's on there, so they'll call me, and those are the only people I want to talk to. Well, it's really, that means we're in essence scaring away a lot of really good prospects by giving them only that ability, or like a 1003 application, right? I mean, if they're not ready to jump into a 1003, which is like a 45-minute process, a complete commitment in that way, they're gone, right? So we got to make it easier to just convert them into a conversation. So you can get them on the phone, bring them into your office, do all these wonderful things that you can do once you convert them into an actual tangible contact, and you're able to interact and take them from online to actual person that you're speaking to and working with. And then you can send them to the 1003 application, once you've taken that next step. So what we're going to do here is we're going to dissect really quickly. We're going to look at what some of the big boys are doing in the mortgage world, how they're using not only their websites, but all their marketing, and they're coupling all of it with high conversion landing pages, really interactive, kind of fun collection gathering mechanisms that get not only a name, email, and a phone number, but all types of key information from that consumer. And then, of course, they do all the stuff that none of us like. They'll take that data and they'll sell it off to anybody and everybody they can, and that's where the whole system kind of falls apart, and I don't like that. But it is important to understand, well, how are they getting that information in the first place? How did they get somebody that just like opened up an email or clicked onto them from Google? How did they entice that person to provide some information, and how can I do it myself? So instead of buying leads, I can convert my own leads in my own marketing. And once again, it's a lot easier than you might think, but it is a matter of just seeing it for yourself and understanding it, because then you can start to visualize, okay, cool, just by plugging in a link in my next email where someone can actually click into like an interactive capture form, I can get a whole lot more out of these emails and these newsletters that I'm sending out, or the next direct mail piece that I send out. If you have a good website or a good high conversion landing page on that, it's going to behoove you to get people to that website or to the landing page, and not just say, okay, I just want phone calls. I mean, I understand completely. Phone call is much better. We want to get them on the phone and create that relationship right away, but these days people aren't that comfortable, and they don't just jump into a phone call with a salesperson. They want to do their research. They want to go online. So by coupling any marketing that you're doing with a high conversion tool, again, whether it be a website or a landing page, just an online presence that's built to capture, you're going to get a whole lot more out of everything that you're doing. So without further ado, let's jump right into a few real life examples of some of these big companies so you can see it, and then we'll end with that. So let's jump into LendingTree. Okay, household name, pretty much. I mean, in the mortgage world, as a mortgage professional, you're probably familiar with these guys. I'm not fond of what they do with consumer information or how they treat that data once they get their hands on it. But it is important to understand that they're a billion-dollar company. They've spent the last, almost 2 decades now, almost 2 decades gathering information and testing and figuring out what is going to work best. How do we take a click and convert it into a lead? And their mousetrap is what we're going to study here, is their mechanism of how they actually go about capturing that information. So right off the bat, it's optimized. Their whole setup here, their website is optimized to convert the lead. Okay, so what you're going to see is you've got a call to action right here in the middle of the screen. Okay, it says compare mortgage offers free. Okay, so it's the heart of the page. The fact that they've got this little Kermit the Frog looking kind of character pointing towards the call to action. Okay, instead of like a giant photo slideshow of just pretty looking houses and text all over the place, they're kind of funneling you right into this first one question, non-intimidating beginning of their lead capture process. Okay, so this is actually the start of it. Okay, and they layer this not only into the homepage, but they build this kind of mechanism in to their entire site. So no matter what sub page you click into or content page you click into, you're always going to see that they've got this widget, if you will, that's prompting people to provide some information, and it's just one question. So you don't get thrown off. They're not asking like for your name, email, and phone number right off the bat. Okay, they're not using language like apply for a loan. They know, hey, I just came across your site. You sent me an email, or I did a search on Google, or a buddy recommended I check you out. I arrive on your site. I'm not ready to jump into a 1003 application. So the words apply now are not even, they're not even bait, if you will, to get me to click. You got to use something a little bit more friendly, something a little bit less of a commitment in terms of them converting. Okay, so now as far as the button itself, they're using get personalized rates. It's bright orange, okay, so it stands out here. And they're asking just one easy question. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer this question, and we're going to see what happens next. So a couple things to notice now. What they've done, it's really smart. They've removed all the other distractions. Okay, so I'm clearly on LendingTree, but they've removed all these menu items and all this other stuff to read and stuff that's kind of capturing my information, or my attention, I should say, because they know it's all a distraction. They want to keep you focused on the question and answer process. So they've eliminated all this stuff. Instead of building or nesting the capture form, which is what we're on here, instead of kind of building that into a page with all the other stuff still around it, they've removed you and they've extracted this piece entirely, and now they've got you focused on just this question and answer sequence. And what's important to see is how they go about asking for this information. Okay, notice how it's just a simple kind of one question. Zip code is really the only fill in the blank you're going to see until the very end of the process. And each question that they present, again, except for the zip code, is going to be a point and a click, or a drag, like as you can see, a slider here mechanism. So they can keep me kind of clicking along. If I'm on a tab or a tablet or a smartphone, I'm just tapping and dragging and moving through this process. Yes or no kinds of questions. Another slider here. And all this it's psychological. Okay, so it's important to understand. They're collecting information, and they've already gotten probably about a half a dozen or more pieces of information from me. They've set it up so it's all point and click. Okay, I don't have to think about a whole lot when I'm answering these questions, because they know all of that kind of stuff is an obstacle. Everything that makes it more difficult for me to move through is viewed as something they can optimize to make it better in terms of how I go about providing information. And what they're doing is it's kind of like a point of no return. Okay, so as they collect this information, I'm moving my way through. I feel like more and more committed as I answer these questions. And now that they've got me towards the end of the funnel, this is where they're going to provide a way for me to, of course, provide more kind of sensitive information, because I've now spent more of my time in this process. Okay, so here's where they're going to collect my first name, last name, and then the final step is email address and phone number. Okay, and I'm not going to give them that because I don't want LendingTree lenders calling me trying to refinance me and sell me a loan. But it's important to understand how they went about asking for this information. They don't ever go for the jugular. Okay, the last thing they're always going to ask for is your contact info, even though it's the most important part of this whole thing. With all this other stuff, without the contact info, really it's useless. So they understand, however, that it's important to be patient in how you ask for that information, because asking for it right up front leads to a really high bounce rate. If people just see right off the bat, give me your contact information, they're a lot more likely to just leave the page entirely because they're not comfortable. You haven't earned the right to ask for any of that kind of stuff yet. Or they'll give you like a Bart Simpson or a Batman with a fake phone number because there's no commitment. They just want to see what happens next. They'll enter in some bogus information and hit enter and see if maybe it'll spit out some rates. Okay, so by waiting for this and by collecting all this other stuff first, all these other qualifying questions, of course they get a much higher quality lead, because now instead of just a contact, you've got like a dozen pieces of information, plus of course a name, email, and phone number. It's a lot higher a chance of you getting accurate contact information, and just again a greater pull-through rate on that information once they get to this final step, versus if you went for the jugular and the first thing you started your form out with is give me your contact info. Okay, people don't feel comfortable with that, and these guys they've studied this. Okay, I think they launched this system in like 1999, right? They've been doing this kind of stuff and figuring this stuff out and testing and asking for information every which way you can imagine, and this is what they've come up with. It's the best way to go about extracting multiple pieces of information from a consumer and eliminating the people that aren't all that serious, which is key too, because it's a quality effort, not just get as many people in the door. So that's LendingTree. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple other examples. We've got LowerMyBills, okay, another company in the mortgage space. So real quick backstory on LowerMyBills. Experian bought them out for $330 million, okay? They're pretty successful at the whole lead capture game in the mortgage space, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look, okay, so what are they doing to capture these leads? How do we learn from another mega successful company in the mortgage world so we can capture our own leads and get more out of our own marketing efforts as loan officers, as mortgage brokers, doing our own marketing, even if it's at a low level, just like Facebook, direct mailers, even Craigslist ads. This kind of stuff can all work really well if you're driving them to the right mousetrap. Otherwise, if you're not, it's a waste of time, because you get a whole bunch of clicks, and it's like running the AC with all the windows down. You might have heard me say that a couple of times. It's a good analogy. It's, people are finding you, they're clicking around, and then they leave and they disappear, and there goes a loan. There goes $3,000 out the window, all because we didn't have the right setup in place to capture the lead, and they went somewhere else. It's not like they just quit looking. They went somewhere else, and somebody else got them. They might have gone from your website to LendingTree. LendingTree snatched up that information, and then one of your competitors bought that lead, all because of a direct mailer you sent out that got that consumer thinking maybe they should look into the refinance thing. Right? So these are real world situations. This is what these companies are doing to capitalize on them. Okay, we're going to close that out. We're going to look at LowerMyBills. Okay, a similar kind of setup with their homepage. Okay, instead of the Kermit the Frog looking character, they've got this little cartoonish looking guy kind of pointing to and presenting this call to action message. He's even looking at it. Okay, we do a whole lot of tests here on our end. We're generating over 40,000 leads a month for our clients in the mortgage space, and we test different things like cartoon versus a real person. In our tests, I've seen actually the real person working a whole lot better in a lot of the different tests. And some different tests we've done, cartoons have worked better. So it's a matter of market and who you're promoting to. And again, testing this kind of stuff makes a big difference. I mean, even a 1% conversion lift on 1,000 visits is an extra 10 leads that you get out of the same 1,000 visits just by putting a different graphic on the page. And testing that kind of stuff is really important. So we do that kind of stuff. But they've got also this guy, the fact that he's looking towards the call to action can help. The eye placement, eye location is going to help people look towards where you want them to look. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at what they have set up and how they're driving people from a website homepage, or it's almost like a landing page, if you will, if it didn't actually have these navigation items here up at the top and some of these other menu items. This would just be a landing page, and that's really the difference between a website and a landing page is navigation items, okay, and a focus on one item versus a whole bunch of different stuff to click around and look at. So what they're doing, though, is they're coupling their website homepage with the landing page mechanism, and all they're doing is using this big old get started today call to action button to drive consumers from the website homepage into the capture page, into the landing page. So let's just go ahead and click on it, see what they do. Very similar, you're going to notice, to what we just saw with LendingTree. Okay, so they use the homepage to kind of catapult you and drive you away from all this stuff to read and different things that are kind of a distraction that don't really do anybody any good, at least as a mortgage professional. Them just sitting there reading stuff, even if the content's great, it's not really a good service to just give them stuff to read and hope they call because the content was so awesome. We need to couple good content with good engagement tools so we can move them away from just reading stuff and into actually talking to you, because you can provide a much better service answering questions and working with a consumer and doing all these wonderful things again that you do once you get them on the phone or into your office versus the website or a web page. Those can't compare. We don't want them to replace you. We want to keep you in business, right? So what they're doing though is they're using this as a springboard to get you off of their website and into this capture mechanism. Notice how, okay, just a couple questions here at a time, making it very easy for me to go through and provide my information. It's all like point and click. Zip code is the only fill in the blank you're going to see until the end of the process, of course, where they're going to collect my contact info. And again, all this is psychologically moving me through the process. I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I've answered some questions. Now they've taken me to my next setup here, which is more easy questions. Okay, I don't feel like I'm applying for a loan. I kind of feel like I'm doing like a needs assessment, as if at the end it's going to like spit out my own custom mortgage report and give me recommendations on what I should be doing and my rates and whatnot. So this is all psychological in terms of how they collect that information. Drop down menus, point and click. Let's just say estimated home value. Let's just do something more realistic for San Diego. First mortgage balance. Let's look at 300,000. Just again to answer some questions here, as if a consumer was moving through this form. It's all relevant, all point and click. If I had to fill in the blanks on all these questions, it would be a whole lot more daunting. Notice I'm on step 2 of a 4-step capture system. So they've given me a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so here's a success or a progress indicator. It's kind of a gamified capture system in terms of a reward process. I feel like I'm moving through this form and I'm getting somewhere. Okay, again, more point and click. Just as we move towards the end here, they're going to start to ask for more personal information, my street address, and then, of course, step 4 is where they're going to just ask for the real goods, the most important piece, which is my phone number, my name, and that's how, of course, you're going to get in touch, and that's where they then turn around and sell that information to different competing loan officers and mortgage brokers. And I don't like that. But what I do like is how do they get their grubby little paws on this information in the first place? And how do we create these same kinds of systems in our own marketing ecosystem, which I get into in Chapter 2, is how to build these kinds of landing pages and how these kinds of capture mechanisms work, and just understanding the anatomy of them. I'll get into all that in Chapter 2. But just seeing how they're using these is important, and understanding, okay, all it is buttons and links. Clickable elements on pages that drive people to capture forms that are fun to interact with, that do a good job of collecting information without scaring people off, that don't feel like a loan application. I don't ask 40 questions at once. Maybe I ask 5 or 6 questions at a time, or like with Lending Tree's example, they only ask you 1 question at a time, but they've got like 15 different steps of questions, but I kind of feel like I'm getting somewhere, and it's all click, 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 and before you know it, I've spent like a minute on there, but I've already told you like 20 different pieces of information that are going to help you determine how good that lead is and how quickly you want to follow up. And if you got, let's just say, 5 leads at once, you know who the priority is based on the information that they've provided you with. All right, so one more big company I want to jump into. It's a name everybody knows very well. Okay, it's Zillow. I've done some work with them in the past, helped them do some different things with their mortgage marketplace that had dramatic impact in terms of increases on their conversion rates. And I want to show you how they're actually layering their long-form mortgage lead capture in with real estate stuff. Because there's another piece of this puzzle for our mortgage listeners and viewers to understand is, hey, mortgages, obviously that's your bread and butter, that's what you're focused on, but the consumers out there, they're a lot more interested in real estate. Okay, there's like 5 to 10 times the amount of searches for people going online and looking for real estate related key phrases versus people looking for mortgage stuff. Because, I mean, that's like the fun stuff. They want to go out and they want to look online at their dream home and go looking for houses and stuff. That's fun versus looking for like mortgage rates and loan applications. So a key way to advertise for mortgages, which I get into a lot in the book, is using real estate just as a means of getting you in front of more home buyers at an earlier stage of their decision-making process so that you can control the lead. So you can generate the lead before a realtor gets a chance to, and you can use that lead not only obviously in your own world to get them pre-approved and work with that consumer yourself, but then also if they're not working with a realtor, that's a great way for you to build better realtor relationships is by bringing them business and not just being the mortgage guy that's got his hand out because you do a good job on the loan and you've got good service and you answer the phone and all these things that are kind of they're to be expected, right? So we got to really bring value to these agents and get over this loyalty thing. I hear about in the last 10 years, 12 years of doing this, I've been hearing about loyalty and realtors, are sending you a client one week and then they're not even answering the phone the next. It's because all the LOs are approaching them with the same spiel and they've all got a different little value proposition. But what it comes down to is if you can bring them business and you can generate your own leads, then again, you've got a whole different approach to working with agents when you can actually bring them business. And it's important to see how Zillow here is coupling the real estate stuff with the mortgage stuff, because you could be doing the same kind of thing. You could be marketing listings. You could be marketing homes on behalf of your realtors. You could be co-marketing listings, doing different ways of promoting properties, but using those listings as a springboard to get people into your mortgage lead capture form. Okay, to take them from a buyer looking at a property to, hey, get pre-approved. Find out what you can afford. Discover what payments are on a home like this in just 60 seconds or less, and pulling them into, again, a capture mechanism that then takes them from just an anonymous click into an actual lead. So we're going to see what Zillow is doing here in that effort. So we're just looking at a listing on Zillow, and you're going to notice every single property on Zillow. Of course, if I like this listing, which is, this is just obvious, I can contact and put in my information. But what if I'm just looking at properties and this doesn't really quite do it for me. I'm not finding something that I like. So they've got a way to capture a lead no matter what. If I like this property or not, if I submit my information, okay, if that's obvious. But if I don't, they've got another way of capturing my lead by using this text link here, get pre-approved. This is everywhere on every single listing. Not only, of course, do they do it up here in their mortgages section, but every single property has this get pre-approved capture piece built into it. If I scroll down and I click into the mortgage section, what they do is they understand calculators are pretty popular in the mortgage world, right? A lot of home buyers online like to play with calculators, and offering calculators is cool, but they don't do much for you if you don't layer those with lead capture as well. So you can take them from just playing with a calculator and looking at numbers into providing information so that you can talk to them and again, do what you do best. So what they do is they also, in addition to this link up at the top here, they've got in this calculator section another one that says get pre-approved. Nice little call to action button. You click on that, and a lot of us are probably familiar with Zillow's long form lead generators. This is what they do. They drive people into these capture pages. This is very similar to like what you just saw with Lending Tree and LowerMyBills. Just a kind of fun, interactive question and answer process. And just point and click. They're collecting all this information about me. I feel like I'm getting somewhere. At the end of this process, they're going to start asking for my contact info after they've collected, I think it's like 18 or 20 pieces of information. But this is a whole different setup than if this was like all 20 questions at once, right? Real easy for me to come through and answer the stuff about who I am, what I'm looking for. And then, of course, at the end, they're going to capture the contact info, and then they turn around and sell it. I don't like that. We've already discussed this, but it's just a matter of understanding, okay, so how do we capture leads? Okay, so everybody's always talking about traffic, this, traffic, that. Traffic is typically not the issue. You can turn on traffic like a spigot. You can do pay-per-click, you can do Facebook ads, you can do Craigslist email blasts, you can do Yelp campaigns, but all of that has to be optimized and drive people to the capture piece. Otherwise, again, it's like we've got a bucket and we're pouring water into this thing. But if we look at the bottom of it, it's got a huge hole and everything's pouring out the other end. There's no point to it, and you're not going to really see that unless you look down and start to understand that without the right lead capture mechanisms, driving traffic and doing marketing doesn't do us any good. You got to have the right foundation in place. This is what all these companies have built out before they started, really turning on the marketing is building out the lead capture systems, because that's how they make something happen. Otherwise, they get a bunch of clicks, and you can't refinance a click. You can't do a mortgage with a click. So we've looked at how that works. A couple other things I want to show you in real life are some examples of keywords and just an example of search engine optimization. Okay, I cover this in chapter 20 of the manifesto, but I do want to just show some examples of how this kind of stuff works, because it's important for me to educate anybody that's reading this book that's interested in marketing to understand that, like, natural search engine organic placement, it's not really probably going to be worth your time and money. If you're there already, awesome. But as far as putting like effort into something like a campaign, let's just say you're in San Diego, you're a loan officer in San Diego, targeting like San Diego refinance and mortgage and this and that, it might sound good to be like #1 for San Diego refinance. When you look at the numbers, which is what matters, when you look at the data, it would be a long time before you get enough out of it and it becomes profitable versus doing something like a pay-per-click campaign where you can basically next day target thousands of keywords that are all relevant, because the volume, okay, when you look at the actual amount of people looking for certain things in the mortgage world, it's not there, and it's really going to be hard to justify how much money and time you'd have to spend paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month for a year at least to come up for something like refinance San Diego. And let me look at the data here that I'm sharing. Average monthly searches on this, 20 times per month. Your cost per click is $17. Okay, but refinance San Diego, 20 times per month is the search volume on that key phrase. So it's like, okay, so if you were #1 in Google and you're going to get, like, let's just say #1 typically gets like 30 to 40% of the people that are searching for something will actually click on the first organic listing, and then it just goes down as you go further down the list through 10. So about 30 to 40% of the people are going to click on the first option. If you were #1 for refinance San Diego, that means you might get, what, 6, 7 clicks per month because of that. So it's going to be really hard to, again, justify costs if you look at different key phrases for mortgage stuff. It's cool if you're there. You definitely need to optimize no matter what your website and your placement. But if you're looking to get traffic, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I cover a bunch of them in the book. I just don't recommend going in and starting to spend like 5-10 grand a month for local mortgage key phrases, because it's not going to be justifiable in terms of the search volume. And then when you look at who's competing for it, let's just say Refinance San Diego did an actual search for that key phrase, and then you start to see, like, okay, who are we competing with? We've got companies like, let's just say, Quicken Loans. Okay, so this is going to cost them probably like $15 for me to do this quick example or experiment here to show you. I'm sure they can afford it. I'm not too concerned about that. But we're going to look at, so Refinance San Diego. So what do? They don't drive me to QuickenLoans.com. They don't even take me to their coveted Rocket. Because the Rocket's like a loan application. I'm not ready for the Rocket yet. I need to most likely talk to somebody. So what they've done is they've taken me to a landing page that's just asking basic information to start out. We've got a call to action that's specific to refinance, which is good. I think it's just kind of a last-ditch effort here to give me an option to answer purchase just in case, but obviously with this message here, they know it's a refinance. And if they pull me into the refinance section, lo and behold, let me just close out this little chat widget. Lo and behold, they've got me in a mechanism that looks very similar to what we just saw with LendingTree, LowerMyBills, Zillow, asking just a few easy questions, making it very easy for me to provide information before, as I say, very easy to provide information. Funny. Very easy to provide information before they hit me up with contact information, which is the final step of the sequence. Okay, so understanding that process, quick, easy way to get into the lead capture. They build it in everywhere. Make it as easy as possible for people to provide information. You layer this into everything that you're doing. Your website homepage, your landing pages, your email blasts, your social media campaigns, coupling landing pages with realtors that you're partnering with, and building your landing pages and capture systems into their websites is a great way to partner up and actually help the realtors get more leads out of their marketing. I mean, anything that you're doing, we just want to make sure we're driving people into a destination that's going to capture and convert that lead for you. Not just give them a bunch of stuff to read and cross our fingers and hope that they're going to now pick up the phone and call. Okay, so we got to make it as easy as possible for them to provide you with information, and once they do, connect you with that consumer as quickly as possible. The more information you can get, the better. The way you go about asking for that information is going to make or break your success. Simply reversing the form, if they started consumers out with this page instead of just the easy questions, the qualifying questions, their conversion rate would be in the gutter. Okay, because this is going for the jugular. This scares people off. They don't call this a loan application. Make it very easy to provide the easy stuff first before they ask for stuff that's going to be more sensitive, like your contact information and just stuff people don't want to give up. And that's the key piece. This is what the big dogs are doing. They layer lead capture into everything. They make it as easy as possible for people to provide information, and then they break it because they turn around and sell it. I don't like that. Let's just recreate that first part in your world. Okay, let's make it easy for people to provide you with information. Don't just shove them into 1003 applications or contact me forms or expect them to call. Provide engagement tools, collect good information that's relevant, get them on the phone, and do what you do best. Close the loan, take care of the client, generate referrals, repeat again and again. Thanks a lot for watching. Enjoy the rest of the book.